Hi, it's Kim and welcome to another process video in which I'm going to make a 12 by 12 scrapbooking page. I'm delighted this month to be guest designing for Uniquely Creative, an Australian company, and I am using the Grand Adventures creative kit for March, and it's been Grand Adventures, it's travel themed. So this was a great excuse or reason to scrapbook some photos from my recent trip back to Australia, which had been 3 years since I had been back to Australia because of COVID. So I am using this gorgeous multicoloured globe or map style pattern paper as the background for this layer, and I have two photos of myself with two of my very good friends from Australia that I am scrapbooking. And first step that I did was sand around those photos. So they're both 3 by 4 inches, and I have sanded around those, and then I am going to back them with one of the pale pattern papers from this kit. So I'm just cutting out pieces to back those, and I will just glue them directly onto those pieces after I have distressed the edges. So I just use my nails, but you could use scissors, you could use a distressing tool, anything that you've got to distress the edges of those backing pieces, and then I have just stuck them onto it. You'll see too that I use the die that's available with this month's release, and I have cut that from a beigey coloured paper in the kit, and I'm going to use that in that top cluster. So I've cut all of these pieces, or they are from the die cuts. So some of these pieces are cut from one of the pattern papers, and then the sign and the floral piece are from the die cuts. I'm just looking at which word I want to use for the title, and I've decided to go with this chipboard word travel. And I'm going through with the die cut pieces, and I'm adding various pieces into the cluster at the top and the bottom to add more interest into that. So I've got a circle with a compass on it, a little tag, a suitcase, a journaling strip. Now I'm going to cut this die cut in sort of 2/3, 1/3, so that I can spread it on each side of the photos there. Looking now for more pieces. So here I'm just showing you that I've got two clusters, one in the bottom left corner and one in the top right corner, creating that diagonal element across the page. So by putting the clusters in the top right and bottom left, I'm also able to utilize the flowers that are printed onto that background pattern paper. I always like to talk about composition in my videos if you are new to my channel. So this composition is that diagonal bottom left to top right, or top right to bottom left. And usually when I'm looking at composition, I look at a way to utilize what's in the background pattern paper. So you can see there too that I have used the Combi Van die cut, but I didn't want to use the Combi Van. So I just hid that in underneath the photos so that I've just got the flowers sitting out, and then they are flowing into the flower element that's in the top right-hand corner of the page. Now stuck the die cuts down directly onto the background paper. You'll see that I use some foam tape to pop up the photos a little bit. It's just to give a little bit of dimension. This is not a very dimensional layout, but just that little bit of dimension really adds interest to it. So I've stuck down the compass, and then I have stuck down the date journaling piece with some more foam tape. And then for that little tag, I put a little bit of foam tape at the bottom of it, at the end of it, so that it sticks up as it comes out from under the pattern paper. So the large square journaling piece that I cut from one of the pattern papers, I have stuck that down directly on the paper, and then the little bubble and the suitcase have been stuck down with foam tape. And now I am doing the flower piece, and I'm actually putting 2 layers of foam tape, but I'm hanging that off the edge of the speech bubble just so that the flowers sit higher than that speech bubble piece. And then I've put some foam tape underneath the signpost as well. So it just adds that little layer of dimension to all of those pieces. And I think it just adds way more interest. Now I'm sticking the title down with glue so it will be partly over that speech bubble and partly off. And I believe I am now going to add my journaling. So there's plenty of space on that journaling speech bubble to add some words about what these photos are from and me being able to travel back to Australia again. And I'm also going to add the date on here. Now, I did come back and reassess, and I added some more of the die cut embellishments. So I've got the little flowers there, extra little flowers, so I'm going to stick those down. And I just go back through the die cuts again and see if there's anything else that's of interest. And at this stage, I've decided no. But you will actually see when you look at the close-up photos that I'm showing you now that I've added in a few more die cuts. I added in the passports in that cluster. I've added in the plane over the top of the die cut piece. And I've also added some little pearls around about the place. And I think that that's just added a little bit more interest to those clusters. So I often do come back and reassess. Thanks so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, please press like. There'll be lots more coming using the Uniquely Creative Kit.